What's up everyone, MK Tom Brady here. In this video, we're going to go over some patch notes. They got released yesterday. And the majority of the game's changes are actually here in its gameplay adjustments, as the big character changes are basically customs and a redundancy that I'm going to cover at the end of these gameplay adjustments, because pretty much over half of the character specific patch notes are the same thing, just repeated for every single character for the most part, and we're going to cover that at the end of these patch notes here. So I'm going to just breeze through the stuff that's more or less like, okay, whatever, and harp on the major stuff. Moveless corrections, obviously, we want all our commands to be correct and frame data to be correct. Then we have improvements to AI logic. They added several new brutalities for players to discover. All right, this is the first major thing I want to touch on here. So, added an option to toggle the ability to use custom variations in tournament mode options. They talked about, like on the Kombat cast, they went over how they were going to have a drop-down menu. Okay, so here's what you have to do. When you're in your default game menu here, you hit Start. It brings up your options. You go over to Tournament. This thing, it says custom abilities, is by default set to off. You must set it to on. And this allows you to have a drop-down menu only in the offline tournament mode. So if you have a friend come over, or you're playing offline, or you're at an offline tournament sometime in the year 2022, you will be able to select your character. And then you have your tournament variations. And then you can go down to customize, and this toggles down this drop down menu. This allows you to put your characters together on the fly. So you can basically put your variations together right here. So if you're playing and you want to pick another character, you can just, select another character and, pick that character. So then you say, okay, I want to play Noob Saibot. Okay, go to pick Noob Saibot. Go to customize, his drop down menu comes up. Or maybe you want to select different moves for a new variation, for a matchup, or just for fun, whatever, right? Because obviously, if you're playing offline outside of a tournament, this would be for fun. In tournament mode, maybe for a specific matchup or situation. Now, this is great. The downside was, I think a lot of us, and this is where a lot of people were looking for this menu, a lot of us thought this was going to be what we were going to be doing in Kombat League or playing against our friends online. So what happens is, when you go to play online, like say Rambo comes out. Okay, you slap together a quick couple of Rambo variations, you go online. You're playing and you say, hey, I want to try some other Rambo stuff. I don't have that equipped though. Or maybe I want to try some new, Gearus stuff, right? But I didn't make a Gearus. Or maybe I want to try some Melina stuff, but I didn't really, I only spent a couple of minutes on Melina. I'm not really sure what I want. Well, then you got to back out of the game, back out of the online menu, go into your offline menu, go to customize whatever you want to do, back out, go back online, reinvite your friend, play. You may decide, hey, I wonder if Rain's pretty cool. Oh, I didn't customize everything I wanted. I got to back out, go back to customize, back out, go back online. It's the same thing when you're also practicing. Rain comes out, you put together a couple of quick variations. I mean, you just got the character. You don't want to spend 3 hours customizing 7 variations to take into practice mode. So you put a couple of variations together, you go into practice mode, you say, oh, let me try this now. Or maybe you say, oh, I wonder if, what changes I can make to, Noob Saibot or Kano, right? I wonder what I can customize with them. Well, you don't have one of those put together yet. Got to back out of practice mode, go into customize, recustomize what you're going to do, back out of that, go back into practice mode. It becomes a very tedious process, and I'm hoping that they add this menu to all forms of gameplay. That I think is a must. I would love to see that done in the future. Okay, so let's now, more patch notes here. All right, slightly adjusted the head victim region location for all characters. This is something that is, everybody was talking about, why certain moves have certain hitbox problems, and they were going to try to fix some of the crouching hitbox issues. This is one of the things they did to try to help improve that. Most basic and combo attacks now allow for a button input buffer during your last 4 frames of recovery. So, as of right now, let's say you're juggling your opponent and you're trying to do an optimal combo or whatever, you can now input the next command 4 frames sooner. So you have them juggled, you finish whatever you're going to do, now you can enter your command a little sooner and it will still recognize the command. So as long as it's within that 3 or it's 4 frame actually, 4 frame window, the move will come out. You can input it early and it comes out down to the frame. This also really helps doing those optimals online and some of those extremely sketchy connections. Hop attacks are now also immune to down plus front punch, which is down 1 attacks until their recovery frames. All right, so this right here is something that people are talking about. Everybody was thinking, they were like, hey, well, I'm airborne for my short hop, I'll just be invincible the whole time. This is false. Your active frames are very, very small on short hop. You are only invincible during that small window. The minute your active frames are up and you are in recovery, you are no longer immune. This is why you're getting jabbed out of the air. You did not time it properly. Your active frames are small. It's a small window. But if you time it right, it is there, it is possible. Get up recovery is now 4 frames faster. Okay, when you get knocked down, you now get up 4 frames faster than you did before Ultimate. So in Aftermath, if you had a knockdown that was plus 10 hit advantage on knockdown, it's now plus 6 because they get up 4 frames faster. That's pretty much the simplest way to say it. Delayed Getup now uses a unique animation, displays an in-game message, and only has one timing of 20 frames. Previously, short was 15 and long was 30. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to bring the game back up because I really want to demonstrate this here for you guys. All right, so previous to Ultimate in MK11, there were 3 ways you could get off the ground. You could get straight up. You could choose to lay on the ground for an intermediate time called short delay, or you could extend that a little bit longer and lay on the ground for a longer period of time, which is known as long delay. That's now gone. There's only one delay. It's just called delay wake up, period. So they added a couple of things to this, not just new animation. So I want to cover this here. They also added, on top of new animation, they added a visual like cue, like the writing actually appears on the screen. So if you go to your delayed get up here, it's now only off, on, or random. No longer short, no longer long. So if you notice right here, let me put it on off. If you notice right here on the right side of the screen, you see it says delay. When he gets knocked down, delay pops up. Okay, that lets you know delay wake up is happening. If you knock him face down, you'll see his head. Let me move the frame data boxes. So if you knock him down, face down, his head pops up. This lets you know, hey, delayed wake up is happening. So the head, the delayed get up is on the screen as well in writing. If they're on their back, you notice his head will pop up really quick there. His head pops up. You sweep him on their back, his head pops up really quick. So there are visual cues to let you know that delay get up is happening. So this is really, really good because a lot of people were kind of like, I got to guess between getting straight up, and even if I make the read they're going to lay on the ground, I have to guess long delay, short delay. Now, wake up buttons is not gone because short delay is, so long delay was 30 frames. If there was long delay, if there was only get straight up and long, it would have taken you 52 frames to get up because it took you 30 frames to lay on the ground and then 22 to get up before you could attack. That's 52 frames. And then even if you did an 8-frame jab, you got to tack on 8 frames to that. That's 60 frames. It would take you a complete second to get up and get your attack on the screen. So if this was the case, you'd be able to knock somebody down, and because there's no short delay, you could check them with a devastating attack. And even if they laid on the ground, you'd recover in time for they would get up and still have to take the pressure. So they only gave you one delay. They extended it to 20 frames instead of 15 because short was 15. They extended it to 20 frames. So they can still wake up buttons. What this does is there's no longer a guess between long and short. So you knock somebody down. If you read they're going to get straight up, there's a set timing to meaty them. There's a set timing. You know, if you read get straight up, that's the timing. And if you read a delay, there's no longer is it going to be a long delay or a short delay. If you read delay, it is now a static timing in how they're going to get up. No longer can they mess up like your meaty timing. So when you make that read, they're going to lay on the ground. If you mistime your meaty, it's not because of anything other than you didn't have the timing properly, because there's now only a static timing to get up when you choose to lay on the ground for an extended period of time. Fatal blows now have a larger than 6 frame window to flawless block. So I'm going to take this in sections. I want to tackle this first. So now they have individually assigned bigger flawless block windows to certain attacks. For example, fatal blow. So normally it was I believe a 5 frame window. Now you have an additional frame of leeway, which you can apply to fatal blows. And I'll get into this in a second. They have a slightly less pushback on block and no longer pushback from blocking cornered opponents. Okay, so there is still some pushback here, and I want to demonstrate this. I'm going to pick a different character here because I want to pick a character that we all think about for pushback. I mean, I guess I can show Liu Kang or Shiva or something like that, so I'll show them both. All right, so fatal blows that have decent pushback. Obviously, Liu Kang is a huge culprit of this, right? And I'll just pick Shiva because I want to show, because people are saying flawless block, or what does that matter, right? Okay, so I'll show why that matters as well. So fatal blows now have a reduced pushback, but it still seems like pretty good pushback in open space. Set them to block everything. That pushback is still pretty good. It is reduced. Let's see if it's on crouch. Okay. I gotta do this. There we go. And okay, so some characters, this is kind of weird. Some characters go really, really far if you crouch block, not as far if you stand block. And then other characters, it's the opposite. They go really far if they stand block, not if they crouch block. So I guess you got to test them all. Now in the corner though, there is no pushback whatsoever. So now there's no pushback. It doesn't matter how they guard it, you know, stand or whatever. There's no pushback. See? And all the fatal blows are like that. Like even if I were to control Shiva here, put him in the corner. No pushback. If I do this in open space, there's still that pushback here. So what about this flawless block thing, right? What's the big deal with that? Okay, so flawless block. When you, let's turn flawless block on. Flawless block the first hit of this. There's no more pushback. So I'll just have him flawless block the first hit and then I'll turn it to normal. So he flawless blocks the first hit and there's no longer any pushback. So some fatal blows, when you flawless block, I know people are like, LOL, flawless block, blah, blah, right? But for some of these, the bigger window could help because when you flawless block an attack, some of these fatal blows give you no pushback as if you were cornered. So it's not completely a useless change, like I know people are going to make fun of it for, but it's really not. It's pretty good. Okay, so fixed a rare issue with throw escapes that could cause weapon. Okay, this is just, cosmetic. Forward and back throws now lose trades in most other attacks and do 10 less damage on their initial hit. Okay, this is actually something I really want to cover here as well. So once again, let's go back to the game. So what was really causing the problem is now known. It was a combination of the massive collision region that throws can expand to, combined with throws win trades. Now we understand the problem. It was a combination of two issues. Let me show you what this means. This is one of the best possible examples that you can see. So there are situations in games in which a throw, although it reads high, will actually have better collision than mids and low attacks. So there are situations in which a low or a mid can't hit you that a throw can. Classic example, something like this. Let me step back a little farther here. Okay, so Aaron Black does this, and he goes right under me, right? And I'm doing a low. But now I do a grab, and he doesn't go under me. Once again, there's a mid, he goes right under it. That's a mid. This is a high, and the throw is winning. This is because the throw has massive collision, and it's able to grab you in two situations. The throw's hitbox expands. When you're in recovery, 1, and 2 on a trade. So uppercuts keep you in crouch the entire time. This is why when two people whiff an uppercut, nobody gets hit. There's no trade because you're both in crouch doing a high attack. There's no special properties to this. The throw was grabbing you out of down ones and grabbing you out of uppercuts because it's trading with you. So like if you whiff a down one, even though you remain crouching, the throw will grab you. You whiff an uppercut, even though you remain in crouch, the throw will grab you. It's grabbing you in recovery. On trade, the throw's hitbox also expands. So we know that throws have a massive hitbox, and when it trades, the hitbox also expands the same way it does when you're recovering from an attack. That's why you're getting grabbed. How did I get grabbed out of my uppercut? How did I get grabbed out of my down 3, my down 1? Now they do less damage, and they lose trades in almost every situation. So no longer do you get grabbed out of your uppercut, no longer do you get grabbed out of your down 1, down 3, etc. Unless you're in recovery, but as a trade you will not. So this will happen considerably less. This is just an animation fix. When basic throw startup is interrupted, it will now cause the hit region to occur at the location instead of the starting location. So it's just an animation fix. Fixed a rare issue that could cause crushing blow dots to linger after resurrections if the additional damage from the crushing blow cinematic caused the death. So there was a rare situation to which you could win a round by a KB, and the next round the dot is still ticking. Fixed an issue that could cause incorrect victim regions. Okay. I messed up there. Sorry about that, guys. Fixed an issue that could cause incorrect victim regions to be used for a few frames if the player performed a forward dash then held down without any further inputs. Okay, again, this is just more hitbox fixes. It's always a good thing. Most combo attacks can no longer hit opponents from behind unless the opponent is in a combo. How many times have we seen videos of somebody jumping over you, or you jumping over somebody, and the guy's doing an attack? It's nowhere near you. You're actually on the other side of their body, and it still hits you. this will no longer happen outside of combos. So I guess obviously you want to be able to do your combos, but you don't want to be, reading a move and jumping over it and then, whoops, the guy hit me even though I was behind him. Fixed a rare issue that could cause a physical attack to be ignored by the opponent if a projectile collided with the background at that very specific timing. I guess there were some weird kind of whiffing issues in that situation. They fixed that. Slightly adjusted victim regions on several regular reactions. Once again, more hitbox changes. And this is just, added 4K cinematics. And these are just boot time and just cosmetic changes, etc. Okay, so where I want to go here is I'm going to be doing the character changes later because that's just a massive amount of stuff to cover. But I'm going to cover the thing that's pretty much a redundancy throughout every single character's patch notes, and I'm going to cover that here. I'm going to use public enemy number 1 before this update, Jackie, to display this here. Okay, so Jackie was someone that everybody oftentimes complained about this for. It wasn't just Jackie that did it, but people complained about it primarily with Jackie. So, but just in general in the game, we have been told, people have called this down 1 mashing. Mortal Kombat 11 has a lot of quote-unquote down 1 mashing, and that's because of the way the frames allowed this to be so. So right now, let's turn the frame data on. Right now, down 1s across the board are all either -5 or -6. So every down 1 in the game is either -5 or -6, that is across the entire board. If you have a slower down 1, it will be -5. If you have a faster down 1, I think it's if your down 1 is 6 or 7 frames across the board, they're -6 on block. If your down 1 is 8 or slower, it's -5. But they're all in that range. That was one of the things they did. They did this by adding recovery. So Jackie's down 1 previously was 13 frames of recovery. We see here it's 16 frames of recovery. When you block a down 1 across the entire game, it takes you 10 frames to recover from this block animation here. You see he blocks it and he has to recover from blocking. When down 1, like Jackie's was 13 frames of recovery, if you subtract the 10 frames it takes you to recover from blocking the down 1, from the 13 frames it takes her to recover from doing the down 1, 10 minus 13 was 3, you got -3. Now that there is more recovery, by 3 more frames instead of -6, instead of -3, it's -6. Now the down 1 mashing was just this, and why was this so effective, right? Well, Raiden has one of the fastest mids in the game at 11 frames. Now you would think if somebody's mashing something like this over and over again in front of your face, you should be able to just, okay, if they're going to keep mashing this and I'm blocking it, I should be able to punish them heavily for this mashing. Here's the thing. You couldn't. Because at -3, Jackie's next 7 frame down 1 would come out the equivalent of 10 frames because you take the 3 frames of negative disadvantage and add it to your 7 startup, you got 10. Well, Raiden's fastest mid is 11. So even if you tried to stick your mid out there, her mashing down 1 is still going to beat that. It's going to beat your mid, it's going to beat your throw. So she can actually mash down 1, and a lot of characters could do this, mash down 1 and keep themselves safe from you throwing them or throwing a devastating combo starter. A lot of times you would have to do your own down 1, and then she would just back up and kill you for it. Because she would make you whiff. She forced you into your least damaging, most risk option. So by doing down 1 mashing, quote unquote, you're forcing people into their least damaging, most risky option another down one where you can back up and do a full whiff punish, which is no fun for the guy who's getting mashed on here. All that's changed now, so that's really good how they did that. The down one mashing is pretty much gone. And even if Jackie tried to down one and backdash and Raiden did his mid, it would hit her out of her backdash. So you have to know how to use down ones as opposed to quote unquote down one mashing. The next thing is there is now the ability to jail off of down ones and down threes universally. Shao Kahn is someone who really suffered from this, and Shao Kahn players were always talking about, like, I can't jail, etc. So what does that mean? There were a lot of characters in this game, especially if you were a DLC, that had huge advantage when their down one or down three hit somebody. And what this allowed them to do is go into another combo string, and you couldn't do anything. You couldn't down one back, you couldn't duck, you couldn't jump, nothing. You're completely jailed. You had to block it, which opened up a devastating strike throw mix-up situation. Then you had other characters such as Sub-Zero or, Shao Kahn, who either couldn't do it at all or the advantage was so small they really had no way to consistently jail. So Shao Kahn just couldn't do it at all. So he would down one you and you would mash and he couldn't jail you into his attacks. He has a 9 frame high. Now he's plus 14 off his down one and off his down three. If he hits any of these and you do anything but block, he's going to be able to do this and confirm into a full combo. Likewise, for a character like Sub-Zero, it's the same thing. Sub-Zero, when he would down one you, it was plus 9. Now it's plus 13. When he would down 3 you, it was plus 10. Now it's plus 14. He has an 8 frame jab. When you're plus 9, there's no way you're going to be able to, on reaction to getting a counter poke, jail the opponent. So they're always down one-ing back or holding up or mashing something. There's no way to condition them. Now all the characters across the board are fair and that they can jail off their pokes. Which is why adding the recovery is such a big deal. Not just because they could have just taken away recovery. They could have said you recover faster after blocking a down one, right? But they didn't do that. What they did was say, we're just going to add recovery to the attack. So now when characters are trying to come in with down one and down three because they have that added advantage, now that's also going to be more risk because the down ones and down threes are whiffing. There's added recovery and you're able to whiff punish better. So recovery on whiff being extended is pretty good. So this is pretty much the universal change to all the characters across the board. And when we go over the character patch notes in another video, that's pretty much going to be a redundancy across every single character. But yeah, these are your gameplay adjustment patch notes. I'm going to be doing another video where I cover all the character ones in another video because this is just going to run way too long if I do the character stuff as well as the in general gameplay stuff. So as always, thanks so much for watching all my content. I really appreciate the support and stay tuned for more content.